now to talk with the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy, on the eve of, I would imagine, one of the biggest events to ever happen in Alaska, certainly in the modern era, to have the president of the United States and the president of Russia meeting for an incredibly, potentially significant and impactful summit on the future of Ukraine, Russia, and the war there. We bring in now the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy. Is that a fair characterization that as these things go, I would imagine the amount of preparation, the amount of security, and the amount of potential historical significance at play here is really unprecedented, not just for Alaska, but frankly for almost every state?
No, I agree. It's incredible. It's exciting. We're glad to be hosting it here in Alaska. Makes sense given our proximity to Russia. We're only about 2.5 miles between two islands, one controlled by the U.S., Alaska, and one controlled by Russia, but 50 miles between the mainlands. So, no, we're excited. And it's not the first time President Trump's been up here. He's been up here many times. He refuels here at the same base they're going to have the summit at on his way to Asia. And we've had the opportunity to get on board Air Force One and have meetings with him. But President Trump is really looking out for Alaska, obviously really looking out for the country. And in this case, we're hoping for the best that at least this will start some serious talks on getting this war in Ukraine resolved sooner than later.
Governor, if you can give us a sense of this, there's, I think, more geostrategic importance and particularly on the national security side. We think of Alaska and energy for sure a lot, but on the national security side, given its proximity to Russia, as we all know, the line from Saturday Night Live, "Can see Russia from my house," not quite true, but very close in terms of the actual distance between Alaska and Russia. What are some of the national security implications? And also, your state has substantial military resources.
Yeah, we're the most strategic state in the country by far. We are obviously an Arctic state. That's what makes America an Arctic country. But we're also a North Pacific sovereign and a Western Pacific sovereign. And to give you some perspective, we are so far west. I know we think of Hawaii being west, but we are so far west that we're 1,000 miles closer to Australia than California is. So we are, by ship, we're 8 hours to Tokyo. From Moscow by plane, we're 2 hours. We're 2 hours closer to Moscow than Washington D.C. is, going that direction. So we live in a neighborhood that's got some interesting neighbors: Russia, China, North Korea. We, as you mentioned, we have robust military resources up here. We have the largest Coast Guard presence in the country here. We have missile intercepts here. We have bases with F-35s, F-22s, rapid deployment forces with our Army assets up here. And so, a lot of people also forget that Alaska was actually invaded during World War II on the Aleutian Islands by the Japanese, and it took a joint Canadian-American effort.
Attu Island, right?
Yeah, we call it Attu. Yeah, Attu and Kiska. Yeah, and so very strategic location for the Arctic, very strategic location for the Pacific. So, yeah, we take great pride in that, and probably have more retired military individuals per capita than any other state in the country.
Can you tell us anything about the location, what it will look like, what the process will be? And the reason I bring it up is obviously there's going to be immense media attention. I mean, the number of media that are traveling to Alaska, I'm sure, will set an all-time record for people that have been in Alaska, frankly, covering anything for one particular time, unless there's some major historic event that I can't think of that this will look like. Will this be on the base? I think you mentioned, will it be in some sort of conference room? I mean, I imagine this is a little bit like a debate in that both sides sort of hash out all the details before the respective presidents show up there. What should we expect in terms of the actual process of the meeting and what that's like?
Well, it's definitely on the base, and the base is a large base, so there's many buildings there that would be conducive to these conversations, not just between the President Trump and President Putin, but their associates and aides that are coming up with them. So the base is well positioned from a security perspective, but also a privacy perspective, and the ability for these two individuals to have a discussion. It's my anticipation, and this is based upon what President Trump has talked about in the news here recently, that it's really it's going to set the stage for further discussions. And depending on how it goes, how well it goes. Who knows? They may extend it and stay here. They may decide to schedule a follow-up summit pretty quick. There's always rumors floating around that President Zelenskyy could be invited here if things are going well. So we're playing it by ear. I think the president is going to do his best to look Putin in the eye and really figure out if the individual is serious about peace and to what degree. And so, like the rest of the world, we are eagerly anticipating what the outcome is going to be in this summit. But we're glad to host it, and it's an honor to have President Trump up here again.
We're used to seeing the governor, the security of a president, especially this president, given what he's been through in recent years, as we all know. Substantial Secret Service presence, a lot of coordination with state, local, federal law enforcement, all hands on deck for our president. Obviously, on U.S. soil, our people will be responsible as well for the safety of the Russian premier. I'm just wondering, how many are there a ton of Russians who show up too as part of his security detail, or is this largely he trusts in the American people and the American leader here, Donald Trump, that it's safe as can be for Putin to just show up in Alaska, and we've got him protected for this meeting?
Yeah, it's a combination. I mean, there's no doubt that our security apparatus is second to none, and I'm sure that President Putin is going to bring his entourage, including security, with him as well. I have no doubt they've been coordinating every day since this announcement, maybe even before the announcement was made, on the security measures that are going to be taken here in Alaska. But having this on a secure base, and again, Alaska is isolated, as you know, we're at the top of the world, so a small population. It is tough to get here for folks, especially it's our tourist season, so it's hard to get lodging and hard to get on a plane. But nonetheless, I think it's an ideal spot geopolitically in terms of location, security-wise, and having it on the base, I think is a wise idea. So I'm hoping for a successful summit. I'm hoping once again that what comes out of this is going to be a lasting, just peace for the people of Ukraine. And I think this is going to be another example where President Trump brings two sides together, which he seems to be doing quite often throughout the world to end these wars. Because we all know, I mean, wars are bad, period. And it's bad for the economy. It's bad for international relations. And so we're all hopeful.
And, there's the possibility that this could be referred to, if this is very successful, right? This could be the kind of summit that people talk about for many years to come. It could be in the history books. It's something that I think could be viewed really as a turning point. So with all of that, and now that we've established the national security implications and everything else, just focusing on Alaska for a second, Mr. Clay Travis has not yet been, and we were just discussing fishing in your wonderful. I have been up there. I am unlike tennis. I have no illusions of grandeur. I'm not a good fisherman. How long would it take you, Governor, or I don't know, I'm assuming you can do one, I don't know, to get Clay semi-decent at fly fishing if he were to come up and visit next summer?
Well, I don't know the depth of Clay's current skills when it comes to fly fishing.
Let's assume zero, Governor.
Limited.
Let's assume zero. Let's
presume limited.
Okay, it might take a little bit of work, but we're willing to take him under our wing. Taking him, we'll take him to. We might want to start out taking him over to like Bass Pro Shop, and he could fish in the tanks there to get.
I like my odds. I like my odds of catching stuff at a Bass Pro Shop.
Even the worst of fishermen can catch fish up here, salmon, halibut, you name it. So, Clay, you need to come up here. If you're an outdoors type of guy, you're going to be, I think, astounded at not just the beauty, but the opportunities up here as well.
I can't wait to visit. I'm going to bring my whole family up. One more question for you, Governor, notwithstanding the fact that I likely would struggle immensely on the fly fishing. On a more serious front, you actually mentioned that Zelenskyy, who knows? Trump has said, hey, we'd like to have tripartite talks potentially if these things go well. Does the governor get a phone call and they just tell you, hey, so Zelenskyy's also coming and maybe we're going to need some extra food and beds? What is the protocol for something like that? I'm sure there's not a lot of experience in any state, but do you just look down and they're like, oh, man, Zelenskyy's on his way in too? Like, how does that process work?
Well, that's an interesting question, right? Because there's really not a template for this. But going back to when President Trump announced that he was coming up here, we immediately were engaged with the White House, their advanced teams and others associated with the White House on not just security measures, but venues, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a pretty good handle now, and have ascertained what the assets are up here for a potential arrival of President Zelenskyy. I would say this, though, that if President Zelenskyy does come here, that means that there was some significant movement in a direction that could be conducive to a just peace. And so that's one of the things to watch for. If he does come up, I mean, the other thing to watch for, who knows, the meeting might be over in an hour, and that also will be telling. So we're all waiting to see what's going to happen. We hope for nothing but the best. But if President Zelenskyy does end up coming, we would also do everything we can to provide for him, as well as the White House people will also make sure that that trip is safe and secure and productive.
Well, we appreciate the time, Governor Mike Dunleavy. We also want to say thank you, by the way, Governor. I'm sure you know these stations well. News Radio 650 in Anchorage, News Radio 970 in Fairbanks, and News Radio 97.5 in Ketchikan. We know we have a big audience of Alaskan listeners up there. I look forward to seeing some of you in person at some point. And good luck with the big summit going on tomorrow, Governor. We know how busy you are.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
For sure. That's Governor Mike Dunleavy of Alaska. And tomorrow, Buck's going to be a really interesting show because who knows how this is going to go. And I think we'll probably be going off the air about time that they're coming for that press conference, joint press conference that is scheduled. So a lot of news coming tomorrow that is going to be incredibly fascinating, I think, to see how it all shakes out. In the meantime, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been supporting America's greatest heroes and their families. Heroes who protect our communities and our country. Heroes like firefighter James Dickman. He was passionate about fire safety, aspired to do everything in his power to keep his community and his fellow firefighters safe. While responding to an apartment fire, James and his crew tried to save people thought to be trapped inside. When the situation escalated, James wasn't able to escape. He perished in the blazing inferno. The cause of the fire was arson. James leaves behind his loving wife, Jamie, his children, Paige and Grant. Tunnel to Towers gave the Dickman family the gift of a mortgage-free home. Jamie's grateful to Tunnel to Towers and to caring friends like you for lifting the financial burden of a mortgage off her shoulders. Join us in donating $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.